means a big power plant, we will have large number of feed water heaters. So you can see here schematically 6 have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 have been shown and 1 deaerator. There could be more. There could be 10, 12 like that. Now, if we have got so many feed water heater, and feed water heater means that we are tapping steam from the turbine, extracting steam from the turbine at different pressures. This is at high pressure, this is at slightly low pressure, this is still lower pressure, this is at the lowest pressure. So we are extracting steam at different pressures of the turbine. So there should be some sort of a guideline that at what pressure we have to extract the steam so that our plant efficiency is high. So this is what we are going to do, and with that we will end our discussion regarding feed water heater. So all these things I have told you. Hope you have done 2 examples which I have given, numerical examples. Hope you have done that. So now let us come to this. This is called optimum degree of regeneration. So how we can determine that at what pressure we should extract this steam? To analyze this, what I have done a very simple thing, which is there in many books. It is there also in the book of Professor P.K. Nath. So what we have done, we have considered a simple steam power cycle, Rankine cycle, with feed water heating, and there is only one feed water heater, open type of feed water heater. So let us understand the cycle. So steam is coming from the boiler, it is going to the high pressure turbine. So then some amount of feed water is some amount of feed stream or bleed stream is extracted, and then it goes to the low pressure turbine, and then it expands in the condenser. So the condensate is pumped by the feed water pump or feed pump, and it goes to the open feed water heater. So in the open feed water heater, the condensate is coming, and the steam which has been extracted from the high pressure turbine, from the end of the high pressure turbine, that is coming. Both are mixing together, directly mixing together, and then they are again forming some saturated liquid at the corresponding pressure, and this is pumped back to the boiler. Now here the question is, we are having 2 heaters heating the condensate and from the temperature of the condenser to the temperature of the boiler. That means this is this line, and something maybe in the boiler also, that this indicates the heating of feed water in liquid condition. It is not changing its phase from the condenser temperature to the saturation temperature corresponding to the boiler. So now let us pose the problem like this, that how much heat we will provide by this feed water heater and how much heat we will provide in the boiler. So here let us see. Here if we see the cycle, then 2 to 3, this is our heating in the feed water heater, and 4 to, here there is no number here, but let us assume there is a number called 8, which I have mentioned in the write-up. So 4 to 8 is the heating in the economizer. That means within the boiler burning fuel. And 2 to 3 is the heating in the feed water heater by mixing with the steam that has been extracted from the turbine. So how much will be this heating, 2 to 3, and how much will be this heating, 4 to 8? So that let us try to find out, and then let us try to find out that if we make certain parameter of the cycle constant, then how much heat at 2 to 3 gives maximum efficiency to the cycle. Is it clear to everybody what I want to say? If not, please tell me.
Clear, sir, clear.
Okay. So this we are doing with only one feed water heater, and then we will try to see if there are a number of feed water heater, what can be done. So in the feed water heater, assume 1 kg of steam is supplied to the boiler and m kg is extracted for feed heating. 1 minus m kg passes through the condenser. At point 3, again 1 kg of fluid flow is obtained. So here it is m kg, here it is 1 minus m kg, this is 1 minus m kg, and this is m. So both are getting mixed together. So here we get 1 kg, and this 1 kg passes through the boiler.
Excuse me, sir, you have been muted. We can't hear you.
Hello, now can you hear me?
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay. So how first we have to find out m. What is m? M is the mass which has been extracted. So this is m. Basically, this is m. And by energy balance, we can find out. We have already done. We have solved some problem also, means given some solution of the problem, workout problem. So from there, we can find out m. And then we can find out the efficiency. Up to this point, the entire steam, 1 kg of steam is expanding from here to here. 1 minus m kg of steam is expanding. So we can find out the efficiency. Now, it has been shown, this is very important. Now we are telling something which is very important. It has been shown that for a subcritical power plant along the expansion line, so this is the expansion line, this 5, 6, 7, the line through the turbine, and we have assumed that it is isentropic or reversible adiabatic. So this is the expansion line. So if we consider this expansion line, H minus HF is constant. What is H minus HF? So H minus HF will be H5 minus H8. 8 is not written over here. So H5 minus H8 is equal to H6 minus H3 is equal to H7 minus H1. So that is equal to Q. That is H1 minus H7, H6 minus H3, and H5 minus H8 are approximately equal, where H8 is the enthalpy of the saturated liquid at boiler pressure. That means at this point. Okay. So this is one observation. This is not just an assumption. This is an observation that approximately they are equal. Then what we are doing, let the enthalpy rise of the fluid in the feed water heater is R. What is the enthalpy rise in the feed water heater? Enthalpy rise in the feed water heater is from here to here, 2 to 3. That is the enthalpy rise. And then if we neglect the pump work is very small. So H2 is equal to H1 if we neglect the pump work. H4 is equal to H3. So basically to show the pump work, I have shown it, but they are so close. We have seen that pump work is very less. So that's why H3 can be taken as equal to H4 can be taken as equal to H3. H2 can be taken as equal to H1. So R is then H3 minus H1. H3 minus H2, that is equal to H3 minus H1. And H6 minus H1 is equal to H6 minus H3 plus H3 minus H1, that is Q plus R. So Q is also constant, R is not constant. Q is constant, but R is not constant. The total heat given to the subcooled water is H8 minus H1. H8 is here, H1 is here, so this is the total heat given. And then if we put all this thing, we get this line, okay? H8 minus H1, that is equal to P. That is again a constant. Why that is constant? Because we have fixed the boiler pressure and the condenser pressure. Then how much heat has to be given to the subcooled liquid, that is constant. So P is also constant. And then efficiency, then we get, efficiency we get, sorry, that is, efficiency we get as Q square divided by Q plus R into P plus Q minus R. So then you can see in this entire this one expression, only R is the variable, and there is a scope of optimization. Okay, so let us do the optimization. Let us go to the next slide. So the efficiency of the cycle given by eta, P and Q are fixed, R is variable, differentiating eta with respect to R and equating it to 0, we get R is equal to P by 2. What is P? Let us recall what is P. The total amount of heat that has to be given to the subcooled water for bringing it to the saturated condition corresponding to the boiler pressure, that is P. And then if there is one feed water heater, we have to give half of this heat in the feed water heater. And obviously half of it will be given in the economizer. So you can understand that first we have taken a very simple case, most simple case, only one feed water heater is there. The total heat which is to be given to the water to bring it to the saturated condition corresponding to the boiler pressure is that half of it is to be given in the feed water heater and half of it is to be given in the economizer. Okay, so this can be called as some sort of equipartition. Equipartition is a principle which is, of course, it is in molecular physics, equipartition of energy. But later on in thermodynamics, in many places, people have used this term, equipartition. I will come to this equipartition just for your interest after we tell this. So this is called equipartition. So if there are n number of heaters, n number of feed water heaters, if there are n number of feed water heaters, then how many number of heaters are there? N plus 1, because n number of heaters and one economizer. So n plus 1 heaters are there. Then irrespective of the type of heaters, the heat which has to be given, imparted in each of the heater is delta H, H8 minus H1 divided by n plus 1. Now, this enthalpy we are talking about enthalpy of the liquid water. Enthalpy of the liquid water very well proportional to the temperature rise of the liquid water. Because liquid water specific heat is more or less constant, not changes much with pressure, temperature, etc. Very slight change. So what we can say that if we know the condenser temperature, if we know the boiler saturation temperature, then basically when we are heating the subcooled water, we are raising its temperature from the saturation temperature of the condenser to the saturation temperature of the boiler. And if there are n plus 1 number of heater, including your feed water heater and economizer, then temperature rise in each of the heaters will be delta T, total temperature rise divided by n plus 1. Okay, so this is a very simple but very effective guide that how we can put, if we decide to put 8 number of 9 number of feed water heater, how we can put them more or less what should I say, optimally, so that the efficiency is high. Okay. Now, the above derivation that is based on certain assumption, we have neglected pump work, but neglecting pump work is justified because you see, let me go back. Here we have used 2 pumps. If there are n number of feed water heater, then we will use n pumps, and very small pressure rise will be there in a pump, and very small enthalpy change will be there across a pump. So, I mean, neglecting pump work is not bad in this case. That is one thing if there are large number of feed water heater. And we have done this analysis based on open feed water heater. So, approximately this is also valid for other type of feed water heater. Unless there are some practical consideration which are there in almost all the power plant. So we have got this principle, and based on this, feed water train is designed. So very simple, it is easy to remember, and the derivation is also not very difficult. Tell me if you have got any question to ask. Any question, any comment? Hello.
Yes, sir. Like when this question comes, like one of the things that comes up in my mind is that to increase the efficiency, basically what we have to do is that the heat addition in the economizer should be at maximum temperature.
Yeah.
So from that principle, like I would arrive at R is equal to P rather than R is equal to P by 2.
R is equal to
P itself, like as close as the boiler pressure, we bleed the turbine.
That is true. That is true. That is true. Whatever you have told is true. That means that yes, that is true. Okay, let me tell you. There is something called, if you go to the book of thermodynamics, any book of thermodynamics, and this cycle chapter, if you read, you are absolutely correct. So if this cycle chapter, if you read, R is equal to P will be there for ideal regenerative feed heating, or ideal regeneration, R will be equal to P. The efficiency of the cycle will become equal to Carnot cycle. Please listen carefully. But the work done by the cycle will be 0. All right. So please check your book of thermodynamics. Whatever you have told is absolutely correct, that R should be P, and that will give you the highest efficiency from logic. That should give the highest efficiency. But in that case, what will happen, you know, let me go to the previous figure. We are not having the benefit of a board. So in that case, this process will be something like this. And this expansion process will be also something like this. And these two processes, there will be in between heat transfer. One will give heat and one will take heat. So this will be giving some sort of an efficiency of a Carnot cycle, but work done will be very, very small. So that's why we do not do it. It is not possible also. N number of feed water heater, it is not, I mean, we cannot use N number of feed water heater. And that's why it is not possible also. And it is not desirable because it will reduce your work done to a very great extent. Please read this. What is ideal regeneration?
But here we haven't considered ideal regeneration, is it?
Ideal, all the processes are ideal, but ideal regeneration is that it is like this. Ideal regeneration is like this, that we have taken steam and steam is expanding and its temperature is also reducing. Then
Yes.
we have condensed steam, we have got water, and then of course water pressure rise is there. Ideal regeneration tells or says that, let's say the steam is one stream of fluid, let's say the water is another stream of fluid. In between we have got some sort of an heat exchanger which is ideal. That means the way steam is losing its heat, the same way water is gaining its heat, so that ultimately water is reaching the boiler at the saturation temperature. Okay, steam expansion is starting from saturation temperature. From here, steam expansion is taking place like this, and from here, the water heating is taking place like this. So that is your ideal regeneration. And in this case, we have not considered ideal regeneration. We have considered some sort of finite number of regeneration, but all the processes are ideal. Please try to understand the difference between these two.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, just
Yes,
एक बार thermodynamics book देख
yes,
लेना.
sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. I will review. Yes, sir.
ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
So this ideal regeneration, whenever you are talking, people have thought that how ideal regeneration can be done. So they have thought of a process. Let's say steam is expanding from the turbine, and let us put some sort of a jacket outside the turbine. And whatever feed water you are getting from the condenser, ulta dik means if this steam is coming in this direction, you send the water in the opposite direction through this jacket. So at each and every point, there will be heat transfer between the expanding steam and the water which is moving in the upward direction, which is moving in the backward direction to the high pressure direction. And this heat transfer is ideal so that there is temperature equality at each and every point. So then we will get Carnot efficiency, but obviously we will not produce any water. Okay. Then one last thing I like to tell you regarding equipartition. It has got nothing to do with our steam power plant, but this is a concept. It is there in energy partition in particles, so that is there. But some of the thermodynamists, people who discuss thermodynamics, they told that this principle is seen even in macroscopic world in many applications of thermodynamics. One I'll tell you. There are many. It is interesting to see, but one let me tell you. You know that when we compress some gas, let's say in the compressor of a gas turbine. So to reduce the work, what we do? We compress it in 2 stages or multiple stages, and in between the first stage compression is there. After that we intercool, bring its temperature to the initial temperature, which is the atmospheric temperature ideally, and then again we compress it to the high pressure. So initially I increase the pressure, along this temperature increase is there. Temperature increase is not desirable. We reduce the temperature to the original temperature, and then again we increase its pressure starting at a lower temperature. So by this process, everybody knows that we spend less amount of water. That is known to all of you. Now, how do I find out that what is the optimum pressure? Here also we have tried to find out the optimum pressure. So what is the optimum pressure? At what point I should do the intercooling? So here also one equipartition principle is there. Probably you have not noted it, but you can check it. That let's say we have got two compressor. Both the compressor takes some amount of work. W1 is for the first compressor, W2 is the second compressor. Now, if we make W1 is equal to W2, that means the total work which we are going to spend, we are going to equipartition it between these two compressors. Then our work done is minimum. Work requirement is minimum. There are similar such examples I can give you. And so this is called equipartition principle. Nobody has told it in thermodynamics book, but I found it that it has got some sort of a similarity. So that's why I am bringing it to your notice. Okay, it has got nothing to do especially for thermal power plant. Okay. Okay, so let me go to some other topic then. We are going to this topic, steam generator, which is very important. Okay, so is it visible to everybody, steam generators part 1? Yes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the working fluid in a vapor power cycle transforms from liquid to vapor. This is boiling or evaporation, and back from vapor to liquid, that is condensation. So all vapor power cycle, whether it is or cooling cycle, that means whether it is a refrigeration cycle or a heat engine cycle, so we will have this. These two processes are very important as they are associated with heat addition and heat rejection. In a steam power plant, the device in which heat is primarily added, that is termed as steam generator. We have already seen that steam heat can be added also in another equipment, that is that is the feed water heater. So we are not discussing that. Some discussion of feed water heater already we have. So the primarily where heat is added is called steam generator. And if the source of heat is combustion of a fuel, then commonly this steam generator is called a boiler. But I mean, it is not necessary that the source of heat would be always a combustion, So it need not be. And in that case, it is not called boiler. These are all local, I mean, colloquial use of word or engineering use of word. I mean, in no book it is written or it is not a rule or something. But whenever we call steam generator, generally it mentioned that, I mean, we try to understand that there is no combustion. And whenever we call it boiler, that there is combustion. A steam generator could be very complex as it facilitates very intimate, it should facilitate very intimate exchange of heat between gas stream and the stream of liquid and vapor. I mean, no heat should be wasted. That is why it should be, the design is complex. And another thing, vaporization takes place. So when vaporization takes place, what happens? That with a small change of temperature, large change of density occurs. So our equipment should be capable of taking care of that. In addition, in a boiler, combustion also takes place where fuel could be solid, liquid, or gas, or a combination of solid, liquid, or gas and liquid, solid and gas, like this. So that's why you can understand that condenser is a simple equipment, but the boiler, what we call boiler, that's a complex equipment. Particularly steam power plant boiler, that's a complex equipment. So a boiler should perform different functions, accordingly contain different parts like furnace. Fuel should be burned within the boiler. Heat exchangers for heat transfer with and without phase change. So when economizer we are telling, so liquid is there inside the tube and outside there is gas. So both are single phase. But when there is evaporator, the liquid is changing its phase. And when again there is superheater, then there is one vapor inside and gas outside. So different type of heat exchangers we should have. And then if combustion is taking place, coal is being burned, then ash will be there. So in the boiler, there should be some provision for collecting the ash, the larger ash particle and the smaller ash particles like fly ash, etc. Okay. So solid residue of combustion that has to be collected. Then there should be pollution abatement devices as far as practicable. Then such a big equipment, there should be different kind of meters, there should be different kind of measuring devices, controlling devices, safety devices, etc. Let me give an example. Actually, I will not teach all these devices. I mean, there are so many important things, but let me tell you something. Let's say there is a boiler, and boiler, let's say there is a drum kind of a boiler, and then somehow the feed water is not coming in the boiler. So continuously you are burning fuel. So what will happen? Steam is being generated and it has to be replenished by sending feed water. So somehow feed water is not coming. Then what will happen? It will happen like this, that the water level inside the boiler, that will fall. The temperature of the boiler cell, etc., that will go on increasing. And at one point of time, if no precaution is taken, then what will happen? That there could be some very large damage, loss of property, loss of human life. And in the primary age of, or rather initial age of boiler, there have been many accidents, many accidents. I mean, in all the countries. I mean, boiler was developed in European countries, in Western countries, there were lot of accidents. And that's why boiler code have been developed. And the boiler code has become some sort of legal thing. That if you design a boiler, you have to design it like this. If you are a boiler attendant or boiler operator, boiler engineer, you have to have this much knowledge, this much knowledge, this much knowledge. This exam you have to pass, this certificate you have to get. So like this. So boiler code has come. So safety is so important. So let me come back to the point which I was discussing, that what is safety device. At least one safety device, let me tell you. So the steam is being generated, but water supply is not there. So boiler temperature is increasing. So there is a plug in the boiler which is called fuse plug, which is made of low melting alloy. So when the temperature is increasing, that plug will melt and will create a hole in the boiler. So if it create a hole in the boiler, particularly the lower part of the boiler, then what will happen? Whatever small amount of remaining water, that will come out of the boiler drum. And where that water will fall? The water will directly fall on the flame. So it will extinguish the flame. Though we can have supply of air, supply of fuel, once the flame is extinguished, there is no harm of, what should I say, accident, explosion, etc. So similarly, there are many safety devices in the boiler. Some may be in the form of a valve, some may be, as I have told, some sort of a plug, some sort of a gauge, double sealing, etc. So there are many safety devices. So I will not have time to tell all these things. And design changes from day to day. Good designs are coming. There are steam trap which will, let the steam go only in one direction, not in both the direction. There are check valves, non-return valve, etc. So many safety devices are there. So you can understand that boiler is a very big unit, and there could be many components. Some of the important features, some of the important principles and components we are going to study, that too, in a generic manner. You can understand that has been developed long back. So many companies have come, so many developments have taken place. So there should be many design variations. So, I have to be restricted only on some generic principles and generic construction of the devices. Two prime features of boilers, if we think, that one is efficient heating of the working fluid. Okay. And then another is best utilization of the available heat. These are the main purposes. So then what are the different modes of heat utilization? Heat received by the boiler is used to raise the temperature of the feed water to saturation temperature corresponding to the boiler pressure. It is done in a part called economizer. Then evaporation of the circulating fluid, it is called evaporator. All these are in boiler. Superheating of the saturated steam, it is superheater. There are different kind of superheater, platen type superheater, radiant superheater, which receives most of the radiant heat, convective superheater, primary superheater, final superheater, etc. And then reheating of the steam, reheater, primary reheater, secondary reheater, etc. And then heating of the cold incoming air, air preheater. So these are the methods by which the heat transfer between the combustion product and the working fluid takes place. So you can imagine that how many different variation of heat exchanger will be there inside the boiler. Okay. You see, heat exchanger is again another very important industrial device, and it is again guided, the selection, the operation, the design of heat exchanger is guided by codes and standards. And most popular code of heat exchanger and most honored code of heat exchanger, do you know the name of heat exchanger code? Anybody? Hello? No? Yes or no?
No, sir, no.
No. So this is called TEMA, Tubular Exchanger Manufacturers Association. So TEMA code. It is US based. So TEMA code, but in the TEMA code, there is nothing told regarding boilers. So boilers, there is another thing apart from boilers are like your many heat exchanger plus furnace. So there are boiler code, and sometimes the boiler design is also guided by the codes of pressure vessels. So you see that why I am telling all these things, that boiler, though I am telling so many heat exchangers are there, so these are very special thing. Normal heat exchanger design principle we may consult, but that is not sufficient. So that is why I am telling this. Then I have written, it is not surprising that there are various designs of steam generated boiler and different classifications are possible. Depending on working pressure, we can have subcritical and supercritical boiler. Depending on circulation, we have natural forced ones through circulation. Depending on heat source, we can have boiler where combustion is taking place or steam generator. In the steam generator, waste heat can be used for generating steam. And then combined cycle, we have seen already that there is HRSG, heat recovery steam generator. Then nuclear power plant, the nuclear steam generator, and then renewable energy like ocean thermal power, OTEC, or like say even for using solar energy, we can have some sort of steam generator or vapor generator. And then depending on usage, we can have utility boiler, these large boiler which are generating electricity. Marine boiler, kind of, it is also generating the propulsion and all the auxiliary requirement of a big ship. And industrial boiler. What is industrial boiler? Industrial boiler, many cases in an industry we need steam. Paper industry we need steam. Paper pulp we need steam. Textile industry we need steam. Then many of the petroleum product we need steam. Petroleum refinery also we need steam. So there the steam is not needed at a very high pressure, but good quantity of steam is needed as heating medium. So heating medium, processing medium, food processing medium, sometimes steam is needed. So there are industrial boilers. And depending on firing, stokered fired means you have got big chunk of coal, or pulverized where coal is just like dust, it has been crushed, and with air we are injecting it inside the boiler. We will try to see this because most of our utility power plant are pulverized fuel fired. And then there could be fluidized bed boiler and other type of boiler. I have shown some different kind of classification of boiler. Okay. So this is a very common, most of the subcritical steam power plant will have this kind of a boiler. This kind of a boiler, and all over the world. So what we can tell that most of the power generating boilers are of this type. So let us spend some time on this figure because though this is schematic, most of the figures which I will show are schematic, but they contain the main feature. So here you see air and coal is coming. So there will be nozzle, and this is basically the furnace part of the boiler. So not only on one side, and this cross section, this is a cross, I mean, this is some sort of a sectional view, but this is a rectangular box. So please remember that this is a rectangular box, and the boiler what we are seeing, one can call it a water tube boiler because within the tubular structure, water or steam will be there. So what I am telling that this is a rectangular kind of construction. Sometimes if possible, I will show you another figure. So if it is a rectangular kind of construction, then at least on two walls, these kind of nozzles will be there. And these walls are then, let's say on the opposite side also we have got nozzle. The nozzle could be there on other walls also. So there are 4 walls. On the 4 walls itself, there could be nozzle. If not, at least on 2 walls, there will be nozzle. So obviously this is the furnace zone, lot of heat generation is there, and these walls are very heated walls. So they are to be kept cold, and heat has to be also taken away for utilization. So, here you see feed water is coming from here. So feed water will come here, and feed water will pass through tube lines which are surrounding this rectangular box kind of a thing, and this is called water wall. And these are basically tubes in which water and steam passes in the upward direction. Water will form into steam as it passes in the upward direction. And as it is rising in the upward direction, they are called riser. And then they will reach a drum which is called steam drum. We will time and again we will see this thing, you will not forget it. And then in this steam drum, water and steam is coming, but steam will get separated, and the saturated water that will go down through a downcomer, and then it will again come to the riser. So this is the circulation loop for vaporization. And in this kind of circulation loop, this drum is a very important part. This is called steam drum. It is not mandatory that there should be only one steam drum. There could be, for a big boiler, there could be number of steam drums. Okay. So in this steam drum, basically we are producing saturated steam, but the saturated steam, when it passes through this water surface, it will contain certain small amount of droplet, etc. So there should be some sort of a separation, and this droplet should come back. We will elaborate this, and then this will go to the superheater. So this is showing the superheater. Okay, superheaters, it is written because there are a number of superheaters. 2, 3 superheaters will be there. Means not the same design 2, 3, but 2, 3 different type of superheaters will be there. Okay, this is very important that only saturated steam should go to the superheater. no liquid droplet. So that's why separation is important. I will elaborate this later on also. So after superheater, it should go to the superheaters. After superheaters, it should go to the high pressure boiler. Pressure is the highest, so high pressure boiler it should go. And from the high pressure boiler, it has shown that some sort of extraction steam, and this is the feed water heater. And then this is the economizer, and the feed water is coming here. But at the end of the high pressure boiler, this steam is coming to the reheater. Again, it is written reheaters because there will be number of reheaters. And once it is reheated, it is go to the low pressure turbine where it will expand and go to the condenser. Okay. So some sort of values are given time, I mean, at different places to get some idea, but these are typical examples. So this is our steam and water circuit. Is it clear? See, this circuit number of time I am telling so that you should have some idea. And so flue gas path or hot gas path is like this. So gas temperature is going down in this direction, going down in this direction. Economizer where it is heating the feed water. And then lastly, it is heating the air, incoming air, it is heating. There is an air preheater. And after that, it is going to the chimney. So when it is going to the chimney, it is of this order, means temperature is 114 degrees Celsius. Temperature is slightly above the saturation temperature of water corresponding to atmospheric pressure. Okay. We will try to learn more about it when we will study draft. Okay. Let me see another figure very quickly, and then only we will stop. So here, I think little bit of more clarity will come. So this is the feed water heater. This is the economizer, and from economizer, you see it is coming like that, and then it is going to the steam drum. This is the steam drum. And then there is these two, that means these are the risers. And then this is downcomer. Downcomer is through the cold portion. It is not going to the going through the hot portion, whereas risers are going through the hot portion. So then the saturated steam is coming to one of the superheater. This is written primary superheater. Then there is secondary superheater. Then there is platen or radiant superheater. And then it is going to the turbine. Okay. So this is here, of course, reheater has not been shown. And somewhere air heater has been shown, air preheater has been shown. So actually none of these figures which we take from any source or net are complete. So that's why we show different kind of figures. But here you can see burner. As I have told, that opposite wall there will be burners. So the burners are here. These are burners or burner nozzles. So this is the furnace part of it. Here what will happen, that large ash particle, they will get collected. There is a pit-like thing that is called ash pit. So that portion of the boiler will collect the large ashes, and then large ash particles, and the fine ash particle or fly ash, that will pass with this gas. And here there could be some sort of a separator, which we will see later on, for the flue gas. Okay, now I will take a stop, and if you have got any question, please ask me. So, water and steam part boiler, which is a subcritical boiler, I have described. So main feature is that there will be a steam drum, there will be economizer, there will be evaporator which includes the steam drum. From this steam drum, saturated steam will come to different superheaters, and then it will go to the turbine. From the turbine, some amount of steam may come for reheating. So after that, it will again go to low pressure turbine. So please tell me if any question is there. No? Okay. I will not go any further, but let me ask you one thing. Hello, are you listening?
Yes, sir.
See, in our original timetable, we had 8 o'clock class and 9 o'clock class on this day, and then 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock. So can we have some of these 8 o'clock class also? Because I have missed many classes. So I am now taking 3 classes, but that is the usual thing. So in some weeks, can we take this 8 o'clock class?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, do you have any problem if I take?
No, sir. No.
So then I will write it. Maybe everybody has not joined. So tomorrow, then I will give you a mail and also send some sort of.
Hello,
PPT.
sir. What time tomorrow?
Then we will have 2 consecutive classes for 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then again at 4 o'clock.
Sir, will it be
Okay.
possible for you to extend the 9 o'clock class till 11 o'clock? That would be easier for many students, I guess.
No. But do you have any other class?
Yeah,
Anybody
yeah.
has got any?
We have another class at 10, sir.
Yeah.
That is not possible.
So tomorrow, then let us decide regarding tomorrow. If you say no, I will not take. But then after the puja, you have to give me some classes at least. I can also ask Professor Sandeepan Ghosh Mouli whether he can give me some classes, because he has taken extra class, I believe. So I can ask him. But tomorrow, let us decide regarding tomorrow. After that, there is no class before the puja.
So tomorrow is like fine for me, but like then
No,
sir,
if
there are
there
two
are many
options.
people-
There is like this 8 o'clock class option, and there is an extra slot assigned for every subject, every slot also.
That is Saturday something.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this Saturday, I am not very sure. Other Saturdays are possible, but this Saturday after puja or in between puja, I am not very sure. Means whether people will be available or not.
So for tomorrow, like I don't know. I am comfortable, but then the majority I don't
And
know.
other people. So, but can we have some sort of consent that okay, tomorrow's class, if not many people are coming forward. So tomorrow class, if we leave apart, then later on, please try to give me some slot where I can take some extra class, not extra class, basically compensatory class for what I have missed. Is that
Yes,
possible?
Puja, yes, we can do that.
Yes, sir,
After
no problem.
After puja or during puja, I will send the message. During puja, I will not take class, but during puja, I will send the message. So please try to accommodate me. Okay. But I mean, so far whatever I am telling, I have got a lot of descriptive portion. So I don't think it is giving much of burden to you. What is your opinion? Please tell me.
No burden.
So these are all informative kind of a thing. I mean, we try to connect the physics, but these are kind of informative things. But I have given some problems during puja also. If possible, some more problem I will give. I do not know how much I can cover, because if I do not cover, then there will not be new problems. So tomorrow I am taking 2 classes, and let me see how much we can cover. I will send some more problem. Please,
Sir, am I
please
audible?
practice those problems. Please.
Actually, the thing with Tuesday is, so if you take 8, it becomes 6. It becomes 8 a.m. to 6 a.m. straight, 6 p.m. straight.
No, no,
So, sir,
tick, 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 tick. So that's why I am asking. That's why I have not imposed it. See, you have got a point. It is not, I mean, all of us, we are human beings. So, and it is not mechanically just you pump something. So if you have got difficulty, we will not do it. I will talk to Professor Sandipan Ghosh Maulik. He may give me some classes, or the extra slot we will use something else. So we will not go for like this. Huh? You are perfectly all right. Okay, then we are closing it here. Huh? Thank you. Thank you.